So Yanni, we are live. How's everything going, buddy?
Never better, man. Busy, real busy, man. I mean, obviously UFC tomorrow, but it's also preseason football started, and college football is now a week or so away. Baseball every day, so it's just constantly busy. But this time of year, it's a little more busy than usual.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually down the shore right now. My dad's watching the Giant game in the other room. So preseason football is definitely in full swing right here.
Where at? What shore you go to?
I'm in Jersey, so we're down at the Jersey Shore. I'm in Long Beach Island. I don't know if you're familiar.
Okay, yeah. Because we used to go down the Jersey Shore. I mean, I was raised in Philly, so.
Right. Yeah, we go down the beach here in Long Beach Island.
When I was growing up there, it was like Ocean City and Wildwood were the places to be. Like Wildwood was the young people, and Ocean City was like a little nicer.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, we used to go to Wildwood with my grandfather. They what did they do there? They did the veterans used to go down to Wildwood.
That was like senior week. It was famous for. I mean, graduation from high school would converge down in Wildwood for like a decades or so.
Oh yeah, definitely. And even what is it? Because I'm a teacher too.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm a teacher full time, and a lot of our kids go down for right after prom. So they'll go down to Wildwood right after prom. Yeah. So that's sort of a disaster for them. What's that?
I bet the Giants first half, but Giants for the game, Giants money line. I don't know why the New York Giants play was so strong today, and I haven't been having a good preseason, but it was like, keep betting the Giants. Get me more Giants. Then another group, get me more Giants. Like, as I didn't know if something was going on with the other team or some information they found, but the Giants.
Is it still 7-3?
I don't know. I haven't looked at a score. I didn't even know. Let me look.
Yeah, I think it's still 7-3 right now.
All right. Get it done, Giants.
Score 7-3? Score 7-3? Giant game?
18-3.
18-3 Giants? Oh, Yanni, it's 18-3.
Right. Good luck podcast today. May have some winners for the people.
That's it. All right, so let's we gave everybody a few minutes, 2.5 minutes to kind of
don't be shy. Ask some questions.
Yeah, get some questions. We got nothing yet, but there is some line movement. Let's see what kind of line movement and what you're on. So I'll start with this first fight, Yanni. There is line movement here, so I'm looking to see what your take is on Sabina Mazo and Shayna Dobson. I actually bet Shayna Dobson at -130 earlier in the week, and right now she's sitting at +110. I don't know if you see the line I have up there right now, but what do you notice about this line?
Just how much it swung. I mean, to where it's almost become a different fight. It had opened off short as high as -170 on the Matzo side, and then dropped. I think when the rest of the market opened it, they opened it still at around -150. And money was coming in on Dobson. Dobson continued to get sharp action because that's who usually is betting early. But none of the groups I work with took a piece of her. And that's when I'm usually cautious in case it's being set up. They could get a better price on the Matzo side. I'm not saying that's the case here. I haven't bet it personally. Obviously, I think this one, if you're going to bet it, now the value is probably gone. I would probably only look. What's the decision? -400?
Let's look at this. Fight goes to the decision is -365 right now.
Yeah, see, there's this. It's not bettable, man. It's just not bettable, and I can't stress that enough, guys. Honestly, I know the only thing I really want to stress is you got to determine what you're betting for. If you're betting for entertainment, then God bless you. Go out there, pick every fight you want to bet, every feeling you have, every instinct whatever you like or you want to watch and bet it for entertainment, bet it. But if you're betting for profit and you're really trying to use sports betting as an investment vehicle, then you really have to be selective. I mean, the groups that do nothing but gather information, look for inefficiencies, and actually turn profit betting sports and have teams of people working for them, it's hard enough for them to find mistakes and inefficiencies, let alone, regular people that have jobs and have families and have responsibilities. So honestly, if you're trying to make money betting sports, I think the best thing you can do is be extremely selective. It's better to pass than it is to place a bad bet, because regardless of outcome, if you get into the habit of placing bad bets, the outcome is going to be the same long term. You'll have great hot streaks, whether you're a winner better or losing better. You'll have hot streaks and cold streaks. They're mathematical certainty. But if you truly want to win long term and be a profitable bettor and be able to say I'm positive lifetime earnings, the only way to do that is place good bets. And with this one, I think the Dobson value was when the line opened. I mean, you were able to get her as an underdog at a nicer price. When Dobson went to minus 125, honestly, I was ready to jump on the Mazzo at plus 105 or even money. I thought there may be a little value there. But the more I looked at it, I said, maybe it is a coin flip or a little better than a coin flip. So I'd need at least plus 110, 115 or better. For me, it's simply a pass.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, I bet it already. So, but what I want to do for every one of the fights, obviously, if you want to break any of them down, be my guest. I'm just going to more or less throw out a prop bet that I like, and I really do like this Dobson wins by decision plus 178. That's the way I think this fight is going to play out. So I'm going to go with that. But let's get into this next fight. I actually put a play on this one too. I really like Brandon Davis. I got him at plus 150. He's up to plus 170 now, which obviously I wish I had that extra plus money on it. I think Brandon Davis can win this fight by a decision, or let me see the KO prop. Davis wins by KO TKO is plus 887. Kang in his last fight against Ishihara. Again, I'm not saying he's going to come out the same way because I don't think he usually fights that way. But against Ishihara, he came out and Ishihara dropped him. He tried to really put a lot of pressure on him, and he got caught. So I think that's a bad game plan against Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis is a guy who last time in the cage after his last fight, he actually got dropped twice himself, once in the first round, once in the second round. But Joe Rogan, he told Joe Rogan that he walked into the cage at 160. Now, this fight is at 135, so he put 25 pounds on it a day. I think he's going to be the bigger fighter in there on fight night. So I like Davis to win this fight, and I wouldn't be if you really want to play a nice prop. Davis by KO TKO is plus 887. What do you think, Gianni?
He looked like the bigger guy today, also in the weigh-ins for sure. I actually noted that down. That's the only way I could go. King, he trains with all the Dong Young Kim and Dong Young Ma and that Korean team, and they're badass, man. Those guys train tough. They're all killers. But I like your reasoning with the Brandon Davis side. 3 years younger. I think he should be able to at least make a good fight of it, meaning if you're able to get plus 160, 170, 180, even if he loses this fight, I don't think it's warranted. And that's all I could ever hope for, to try to get the best of it. I don't think Kang should be higher than about a minus 140, 150 favorite. Listen, he's favored. He's supposed to win this fight, obviously. That's why one guy is going to be favored over the other. If you're betting the dog, I'm just looking for a dog that the price is wrong, meaning I think he's got a 40% chance of winning, and I'm getting the odds of a 50% chance of winning. I think that Brandon Davis gives you that. I haven't stepped up and fired yet, to be honest with you. I haven't bet that fight, but I do like the Brandon Davis side, especially at that price also. I think it's a dog or pass situation, as Kalikas always says.
Yeah, definitely do think that. Let's get into this next fight, see if there's anything that you like here. Hannah Cyphers and Jody Esquivel. Cyphers is a popular parlay pick. I actually do have her in a parlay that I made earlier in the week with let me just find it, with Yusuf, and I got Yusuf at I think minus 270, and Cyphers was minus 265. So Cyphers is now up to minus 290. Any movement on that one?
Yeah, and it's been Cyphers, and she didn't attract really sharp money. I think you're absolutely right. You nailed it. It's an accumulation of casual bettors using her and tying her up in the parlays, and no money really coming in on the underdog. None of the betting syndicates have taken a position on this. Like the favorite didn't get steamed. There's no buy orders on the underdog so far. We'll see if anything changes tomorrow. But I use ciphers in a parlay. I just don't think there's enough line value there to warrant betting her straight up. Meaning, I made my line. The way I do this is simple. I know we like to predict fights, and that's a lot of fun, but that's guessing. And you just don't make money long-term betting sports guessing. And you do that by finding inefficiencies. The only way to do that is bring out stronger power ratings than the odds makers. And you probably won't even do that, but we have the luxury of the odds maker being forced to shade his lines towards the biases of his market. So meaning they'll shade favorites higher because they know most of their bettors are going to be on the favorite. That gives a guy like me value on the underdog just because I know I'm getting the best of it. Those are the kind of bets that I'm trying to make, and long term, that's the only way to make money betting sports. I just got to stress that. I hear it all the time on Twitter. MMA is different than every other sport. It's not, guys. It's the same odds makers. It's the same casino and sports books. It's the same bettors. The lines move the same way. I get it. It's a different sport, but markets are markets are markets, and they all work the same way. And for me, that's what it comes down to. I made ciphers. Our power ratings show that ciphers would probably win this fight close to 7 out of 10 times, a little less than that. At minus 200, that's 67% break even. So I would need about minus 190, 180 to bet this fight. I can't find that. So for me, it's a pass. But there's not enough value on the dog side because I need a lot more plus money to warrant that. Because again, I think she's only got about a 30% and plus 200 just isn't enough.
Yeah, I do agree with you there.
Right? And I think what's it called? Cyphers is the better striker, right? And better defensively as well, too. I think she's going to land more and get hit less. That's probably a good recipe to win.
And you know what the thing is with ciphers for the most part? She will throw punches. She will get inside and throw punches. But the other issue with her opponent, Escobar, if you look at her last 3 fights, she's taken over 100 significant strikes in all 3 of her last fights.
How did she take them? I didn't see them. I didn't look, to be honest with you.
I mean,
she
took a majority of the strikes, and again, you can get her with low kicks, you can get her with body shots, you can get her, throwing a good jab and just getting inside and throwing volume. So
one thing I noticed at the weigh-in, she looked like a grown woman compared to Cypher. But then when Cyphers got on the scale, and then when she stood up next to her, Cyphers was pretty built. And then I was like, oh, cool, because I use Cyphers. I got her into, a parlay or two. And when I first saw the opponent, I was like, dude, this is a grown, mature woman. We might be in trouble here. But then Cyphers is pretty jacked for, strawweight.
And again, don't get me wrong. I for the most part, this is going to play out on the feet. So if Escobar can, get off her shots and just keeps throwing, like, you never know what happens in a fight.
Did you bet it? Did you use it yet?
I did bet it, and I threw who did I do? I threw ciphers in that parlay. I just have one parlay in Youssef.
We're on the same side, man. We're on the same side.
Yeah. So this next fight, I'm interested to get your take on it because I put a straight play. This line I just thought was off. And when you talk about plus EV, which I know you've talked about in the past, Manny Bermudez earlier in the week was minus 125. I was able to hit that line at minus 130. It's now up to minus 155, and this is also a fight that was supposed to be played out at 135 pounds. Bermudez came in 5 pounds overweight in his last fight. And then today, I believe they decided this was going to be a catch.
Right. Yeah.
Bermudez. I believe it was Bermudez's side. I believe the commission basically said they need him to basically stop cutting weight. He's not going to be able to make 135, so they made the fight at 140. Bermudez is going to be a lot bigger. I think you can see that, especially if you watch those weigh-ins. I think you can see it, Gianni.
Yeah, I noted that as well. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I bet the Bermuda side. I actually released it when the lines came out. I bet it and gave it out to my subscribers, and also gave it out on the show on the line. It was minus 120. I thought the line was going to move that way. I was surprised it came down that low. In fact, offshore when it first opened, the first book that tried to create a market opened them at minus 185. Within 20 minutes, it dropped down to Bermuda's minus 145, 150. That's where a couple other books offshore opened him up. And money came in on Kenny immediately. And that's what brought Bermuda's down to 120. And personally, based on my power ratings, I had him winning this fight close about 65% of the time. And I couldn't believe it that the line moved the other way. So for me, I said, you know what? It's none of the groups I work with that are on the Kenny side. So I'm going to fade the sharp action. I'm going to bet Bermudez at minus 120. And I did. Now the line's moving in his direction more towards what it opened at. So I'm relieved there. I feel I made a good bet at minus 120. For me, it was simple. It's the predictive analytics that really stick out. He's got 3-inch height advantage, 4-inch reach advantage. He's 3 years younger. Those are predictive analytics. Like me saying he's got a good left hook or a good guillotine or a good that doesn't say much, because I don't even know what his game plan is for that fight. No one does except him and probably his coach. But the predictive, that's not the regular data, the kind that's actually predictive, that you could say if you run through you'll see there's statistical significance to it, and those are. And I like the Bermuda side. I actually also bet that this one ends in a finish. And I know with bantamweights, that's probably not the way you want to go. Even though this is a catch weight, technically not 135. But if this kid wins, I'm almost sure it's got to be by submission, averaging 7+ per 15 minutes. And if you're averaging that many, you're probably going to lock one on. I'm hoping he does. Time will tell. He's looked great in the UFC, 3-0 and 3 finishes. Getting him at minus 120, I thought that was a steal. But if Kenny goes in there and drops him, then it'll be a lesson learned. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the way to go. If you're thinking it's going to finish inside the distance, Bermudez by submission, first or second round is really what you're looking at. The thing is, everybody's been talking about Kenny being the better striker, which, yeah, I think he is the better striker. I just don't think that this fight is going to play out on the feet. So I don't think that's really, a concern that I have. I think Bermudez is going to wind up getting into the clinch as early as possible, trying to work for that takedown or just take the back. So I really wouldn't worry about that being an angle here. I'm going to tell you this next fight. My breakdown is going to be very short. I did not bet it. I was on Giagos earlier in the week. I think he was like plus 190, maybe even plus 200 at one point. Let me see the line. I'll throw up the line movement here for everybody so that they can see that line movement. But Gianni, that's really what I'm going to be able to say about this fight at this point. He's plus 155. Anything that you like here? Any movement that's notable? Gianni, there's a little feedback too in your mic. I don't know if your mic's too high or something. There's a little feedback.
Is there? I can fix it. Is that better?
Yeah, that is better. Go ahead.
All right. We bet this one wrong, man. We bet the Jakar close side. And I laid a worse number than what it's at right now. And that happens, man. I mean, you're not going to be right on which way the market's going to move every time. My goal is to be right 7 out of 10 times. And fortunately, at least over the last 5 to 10 years, I've had better results than that. That comes from a long time of experience, trying to guess which way the market's going to move. And I really thought Jakar Close would close over that 220 range, 230 range. But that's not the case. Giagos is getting a lot of love. And that scares me a little bit because, like I said, my bet's already in on Close. I also already tied him to a parlay. So hopefully he gets through this one for me. Listen, he was set to fight Dariush in July. So he's had that extended training camp. Hopefully that helps him out there. It's going to be a tough fight. I mean, we'll get Giagos get those takedowns. How do you think this fight plays out?
What you just said is really how I think this plays out. I think they're both going to try to get takedowns.
Yeah.
I think the issue with
that wrestling, that high school state championship, that base, man.
I'll be honest with you. I just think if Giagos, if his cardio stands up, I think he wins this fight. That's the way that I think. I think that he's going to be as good, if not better, on the feet. I think he's going to be able to not put himself in bad positions with the grappling and the wrestling. And if anyone's going to get a submission, I think it's going to be Giagos. He'll at least attempt something.
And we're
Yeah,
in
I mean, I'm
trouble.
not saying he's going to get a submission. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that Close hasn't really shown to be a submission grappler. You know what I mean?
Because I may be in
He'll
trouble with
grapple.
that close fight. Because Giagos is probably the better striker, man, coming from Black House MMA.
Yeah.
At least on paper, you would think.
Yeah, no, that's what I think. So that's where I see this fight going. But I would stay away from the close side. I'm not surprised with the movement, to be honest with you. I considered betting Yagos. I just
Okay.
thought that it's more or less it's a coin flip. I'll be honest with you. I like some other fights better. If this was a card where I didn't really like other fights, I probably would have bet Yagos at plus 190, plus 200. That's just my
If you think
take
it's
on it.
that close to the fight, it's the only way you could go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If there's no way you should ever lay juice and lay chalk if you're not sure. If making the decision is that right down the middle, kind of a coin flip, you're going back and forth, you probably want to be getting points or be getting plus money as opposed to laying it.
Definitely. And Yanni, this next fight is Corey Sandhagen and
Oh,
Rafael
yeah.
Assunção. I just want to make a note to everybody. There's a bunch of people that have been in and out of the live stream. If anybody has questions, nobody's asked a question yet, but if anybody has questions, I can see a bunch of people are watching, but obviously they're just watching, not really asking questions. If anyone has a question, Yanni would be glad to answer any questions.
I'd love to. Here's your chance. They throw comments on Twitter and ask stuff. Here's an opportunity to ask right here, baby.
Get them answered live, right?
Right, of course.
So
in my mouth.
I'm going to throw – you seem to be getting a little excited about the Sandhagen fight. So I'm going to throw it right to you. I actually have no plays on this. We went back and forth the other day with myself, CG, Ty Slice, and Ryan on Brews and Bets. They basically said I had the wrong take on this fight, which is possible, but I'm staying away. So Yanni, what do you think here?
Listen, this is the perfect fight to see what Corey Sandhagen truly has, meaning Assunção's that experience he has with the opponents he's faced. Sandhagen, it's going to be a problem for him to really show stuff that Assunção is going to be fooled by, meaning, he's seen it all by that point. But with that said, I immediately was on the Sandhagen side. I bet him as when the line came out. I released him when the line came out. I used him on the line show. I used him in the promo I did for 241 that the UFC sends out. That actually on that one I give bets. It's not just a steam read or a report why the lines move or what the sharps are on. On those I actually share what I bet when I do have a bet, and I bet him. And the reason is this simple. Again, the predictive analytics, the stuff that you could actually say, long term, this has been profitable, are off the charts with Corey Sandhagen. And his size for that weight class, his reach for that weight class. He's got a 10-year age advantage in this matchup. Those are huge advantages, predictive advantages. But then, more importantly, why I was sure it was going to be line value is if you look at the UFC rankings, and this is how you win betting college football, betting college basketball, because rankings are popularity contests. You see, 8-0 teams in college football in the top 10, and realistically, they'd be 20-point underdogs, against any of those top 10 teams in a casino setting. But as far as rankings go, you're in those rankings. For me, it's ratings. What is the value? What are they worth? And I have Corey Sandhagen as the number 3 power rated bantamweight, meaning there is only 2 guys on the planet right now that should be favored over Sandhagen at that weight class. And one is Henry Cejudo, obviously, and number 2 is Peter Yan. I think nobody else is warranted as a favorite over Sandhagen with what we have to date. That could change after tomorrow night. But with all the data I have on this kid going into tomorrow night, again, he should be a much bigger favorite here. I would have been comfortably laying all the way up to minus 180, maybe 200, seriously, because the edge wouldn't be that great. But I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of edge because I'm so high on this kid. But I want him fighting this tough of an opponent so I could find out how much to trust what the data spits out and those ratings. because again, I can't say it enough how off the charts they are for Corey Sandhagen from months ago when we were in a meeting at the UFC, and they asked me for my bantamweight ratings, and I turned them in, and I had Sandhagen all the way up at the top back then, and I don't even think he was in the top 10 rankings back then. And they're like, "Are you nuts?" I don't think I had him at number 3 yet, but I had him in that top 5. Anyway, to make a long story short, I got to bet this kid when this line came out. Fortunately, the market is moving in that way. Last I saw, he was around a 200 favorite. So at minus 160, I think I placed a good bet. Closing line value at least, the best I could ever hope for. So for me, it's Corey Sandhagen, man. As far as how it goes, I think it's going to go to a decision. It's probably heavily favored to go there. What I see up there on that board, about 200-300. Yeah, I think Sandhagen wins this, man. 30-28, 30-27, 30-28.
Yeah, and King's MMA thinks this is the play of the night. He thinks it should be more like minus 300.
Oh, man. All right, King.
Yeah, he's right with you. And
right.
Jamie Tran, we got a couple comments now, so I'll throw them out there. Jamie Tran basically said, what fighters would you put in a parlay? And I'll just give you the fighters that I would use in a parlay personally. I have no problem putting – let's see, let's just go up and down here. Cyphers I've already used in a parlay, so I have no problem putting her in a parlay. If you go up here, I would say Sandhagen. You could put in a parlay if you believe what Gianni's saying. Again, I stayed away from this fight, but if you believe what Gianni's saying, then Sandhagen's someone that you may want to put in a parlay. For the most part, you may have just talked me into throwing a little something in there. And then Youssef is someone that I have no problem putting into a parlay. So I think those three are very safe. And then the other one that I like a lot is Ian Heinisch. So I have no problem putting that in a parlay. It's a little more risky. He's minus 145. I just think that he's gonna style on Derek Brunson. That's just the take I get. But Yanni, who do you like as parlay?
I toss in a lottery ticket before the weigh-ins, and I toss in a lottery ticket after the weigh-ins, because a lot of times things change. And prior to the weigh-ins, all my bets are data-driven. As after the weigh-ins is mostly information-driven and piggyback in any of the groups that I respect. And by information-driven, I mean, that's when it's not just looking at the numbers, it's looking at guys that have access to good shit and share information. But I want to say this, with a parlay, I know going in, it's negative EV. They are long-term losing bets. You will not make money betting parlays. I'm just telling you, that's a mathematical certainty. Unless you bet one, win it, and never bet again. Or you've only bet 10 and you happen to cash a nice one and you never bet them again. Believe me, a few months back, I hit a couple 6, 7, 8 teamers on Twitter that were there. And great, it was a great score. 5, 6, 8, 5-figure score, excuse me. But lifetime, I got to be down on parlays. And that's coming from someone that hit a 10-teamer for, close to 40 dimes, dude. So I'm telling you, I'm probably down lifetime. And here's why. Forget the fact you're paying juice. Forget the fact if it's not correlated, there's no reason to parlay it, meaning the winner of fight number 6 there's no correlation with the outcome in fight 10. So why parlay it? The only time a parlay is plus EV is if it's correlated, meaning if this result happens, this has to happen. So if New England Patriots are 17-point favorites and the total 30, then if you bet New England, the parlay New England and over. That's correlated. It has to go, if New England covers, it has to go over. They'll have to score that many points. That's why sportsbooks don't allow those parlays. When there's Thursday night football games, Saturday, Sunday football games, and there's those big point spreads like that with low totals, they take those off the board on the parlays. They say, no, we don't want that, because they know that's a correlated parlay, and that's actually plus EV. And that's, again, if you're trying to make money betting sports. If you're doing it for entertainment, dude, toss parlays in every day. They're lottery tickets. I do it for fun. But I know going in, they're negative EV. And anyone that please, before this comes back into the argument, what if you're getting true odds, without the built-in edge because you're doing money line parlays? The goal is, forget it, a winning sports bettor is to bet the team or fighter at the best possible moment, at the best possible line. And you will never find the best possible line at the exact same at the same property for the same fights. Meaning where I want to make a 3-team parlay, and in that sports book, I'm getting the best line possible on all 3 of these fights. That's not going to happen. So just that alone, that you'll be able to get one of those fighters at least at a better line at another book. The fact you're not doing that tells you it's a losing long-term bet. But if I was going to put a parlay in, I think you're the shots you want to put in if you're going for those money line favorite parlays. Let's start off with the highest winning percentages that I have. Devontae Smith, Manny Bermudez, Daniel Cormier, Corey Sandhagen. I think that's a solid four-fighter parlay.
Yeah, and Jamie Tron, who asked the question, just said, "Wow, thanks for all the info."
My pleasure. I want people to enjoy themselves, have fun, and maybe if they don't win money, maybe lose a little less, or have that bankroll last them a little longer, man. I'm on your side. I'm not booking your action, dude. We're on the same side of the counter. I want to learn as much from you. Listen, you guys know more about MMA than I do. That much I'm sure of. That much I'm 100% sure of. Because I don't read all the stuff. I don't watch all the fights. I don't have that time. In fact, many times after I place my bets, I don't have the luxury of watching this play out. I'm having to try to beat guys to bets tomorrow, and that's just the life, like I say, the life I chose. I'm not complaining. But I want to see guys win, and it took forever, guys. I lost multiple bankrolls. I had that information. I was moving for long-term winners. For guys where information back then is better than you could ever get today. Because today with the computers, it's at everyone's fingertips. Meaning we knew it was going to rain before the lines were moving back then. Huge edges. And I managed to go broke multiple times because I didn't know how to bet. It's not even sometimes, there's so many guys I know with access to winning information, guys that could win, but they don't know how to bet. And that's why, professional athletes make the worst sports bettors, even the ones betting on their sports. I know bookmakers, they always laugh and say that. Their best clients are athletes of that sport because they may know the game, but it's two completely different things. You're not, knowing everything about a sport and making money at it are completely opposite sides of the street. The best way I could try to correlate this is Warren Buffett made his fortune from stock. We know that. He owns See's Candy. He owns stock in Coca-Cola. He owns stock in the railroads. He didn't learn everything about chocolate. I bet if you asked him, he don't even know the ingredients of chocolate. He couldn't even tell you the different types of chocolate. But what he does know is how to value a company, how to look at a company and actually break it down and what is it worth. Don't care what all that stuff is irrelevant because if you're not using it to make money, the only thing you got to use to make money are stuff that's not factored into the betting line. Because all the stuff we discuss, this guy kicks harder, this guy comes from this camp, this is this dude's trainer. Oh, he fought him 3 years ago in his camp. No, those are all factored into the betting line. They're great for shows like this. They're great for sports radio and discussion and podcasts and for us to learn from each other. But they're not how you're going to make money betting sports because you don't make money predicting outcomes. I don't know. The only psychics I know that got rich are ones that were given reality shows, not ones that came to the casinos and busted them up. And that much I can promise you. And I know a lot of guys ask, who did this guy come from? Honestly, dude, I grinded. It took me 20 years to learn how to win. I've been here now 20 years, and I put in 10 years before I came out here. And it's only been the last, 10 years that I could say I've been a profitable winning bettor. The first 20 was nothing but an education and going broke over and over and trying to learn. But if I wanted to be a lawyer, I'd have probably student debt, a shitload of it, because I don't come from rich parents. And that's what I wanted to do. That was the price of my education. So believe me, dude, you don't have to like me. You could hate my voice, how I look, my teeth, all that shit. I don't mind that because you don't really know me. And I worry about what the people that do know me think about me. You know, that's whose respect I'm trying to get. But please listen to what I'm telling you, because I'm not just making this shit up. I make my money betting sports. You know how hard that is? For every $10 I want to make, I have to put up 11. I'm going to work 12 hours tomorrow, and I can't promise my family that I'm going to bring home a penny. Just the opposite. I may actually tell them we lost this much money today. But I chose that. So I got real good at it. And that's why when I walk in a casino and bet, even a parlay, a 7-fighter parlay that I put in, I tried to put a $2,000 7-fighter parlay. I had to go to 5 different outs, and I got 1,000 down because 2 different shops gave me a nickel each, 500, 500. Every other shop was like 100, 100, 100. So this is what happens when you become a winning sports bettor. It's hard for you to get down. And that's why so many successful ones have crossed over to sharing their information to monetize it. It's just the truth. Because just like with card counting, you become an efficient card counter, you're not on the cover of Card Player magazine. They just ban you from playing it. You know, you become a great poker player, you get on the cover of Card Player magazine. You know why? Because you're not taking the casino's money. You're taking the other players' money. The casino don't give a shit. They're taking out of the pot. But when you're beating them up in blackjack, if I'm beating them up in sports, yeah, that rubs them the wrong way. And then the hard part is getting down. So again, dude, and I don't want to rant because I know you guys want picks and all that, but I could give you picks and I could go 5-0 or 0-5. It's as random as me getting my daughter to come in here and flip coins over 5 fights. Maybe I have a better chance because I know more, but over 5 fights, she's got pretty much. She could go 5-0 tomorrow just because picking the names of the colors of their of their shorts. And that's just a randomness. What I've been able to do is prove that over 500 bets, over 1,000 bets, I'm still a threat. Over 10, 20 bets, anything could happen. But over 500, you let me bet here 500 times, I'm going to be holding your money. There's nothing you can do. Maybe over 5, 10, 20, 100. Yeah, I may be down to you. I'm down to Mandalay Bay. They don't let me play blackjack there. That's just how it is. And again, this isn't me patting myself on the back or bragging or nothing like that. I swear to you, it's nothing like that. Because anyone that follows, they know me. So this isn't trying to sell myself at all. This is just me telling you this is how it goes in the world of being a winning sports bettor. Because there are so few. And I don't care. I know that living here 20 plus years, that I could count the guys that win in one hand, dude, that get respect. That actually do, that are originating their own stuff, that aren't just piggybacking or moving steam. It's not an easy racket. All those guys that know everything, just ask, what are your lifetime earnings? And if they tell you I'm up 300 units, run. If they tell you bet this parlay, run. Anyone who's selling you a parlay, honestly, if I sold a parlay, my business would be closed in 6 weeks. I deal with sharp people. They would be like, are you kidding us, Ace? You're trying to sell us a parlay when you know it's negative EV? Even if you win that, it's a bad bet. And I'm not in the business of making bad bets. So again, I love giving you guys picks, but I'd rather give you long-term actionable information so you can learn to place good bets on your own. I'm going to be wrong a lot. And hopefully you take that knowledge of MMA and use it correctly. Because if you could take that and learn the gambling side, you're dangerous, bro. You are very dangerous. But if you're egotistical and you think because you know everything about these guys and everything about the sport and you've watched it since UFC 1 and because of that you deserve to be a winning bettor, yeah, it doesn't work that way. That's why these buildings behind me are so beautiful. Because if it was that easy, you would just become the world's best fan and every fan would be here getting rich. It's not how it works, man. I want to see you guys do well, brother. So forgive me for the rants, my friend. Sorry for that. I know it's your show, but the gentleman asked the question. I thought he deserved a truthful, honest answer.
Yanni, that's why we're doing this show on a Friday. It's just me and you. You can rant yourself away. You're talking to the people directly. You know what I'm saying? So a couple people have commented. Ryan Stengel, who's he makes some good comments on all our shows. He says you should do this show every week. This is awesome. And I think Gianni and I have talked about doing this for
it's fun, man. I love talking sports and sports betting with people that are passionate. You know what I mean? I love it. And like I said, I learned a lot from you guys because I don't know a lot about. I'm learning more and more because I'm surrounding myself with MMA. But I'll tell you the truth, how I broke in. I was a fan of the sport. And in 2003, 2001, UFC 33, a bookmaker friend of mine who's at Mandalay Bay, Hugh Citron, who's also a big fan of MMA, they were having the first UFC in the state of Nevada in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay, UFC 33. And because Hugh is such a fight fan, he asked the casino management, can I put lines out and book the fight since it's on our property? They said, you know what? Go ahead, Hugh. And he did. And it got some betting action and people, excited. And I think they won a little bit, but that wasn't even important. They saw that, wow, people have an interest in betting MMA. So Mandalay Bay started putting out lines just for main events. And that was it. And for like 2 or 3 years, it was just them putting out a main event line and then everyone else copying it. And then they saw what happened was, remember, there was that lull in boxing where the popularity was gone. Tyson was gone. Lennox Lewis was gone. And MMA came front and forth and center. And what was it with the Ultimate Fighter 2005, I believe that was? That blew it up, and it was perfect timing. Sportsbooks were ready to have another combat sport take over. And everyone started putting numbers up, and the rest is history. So MMA betting is, realistically, 10, 15 years at its longest. It's a very new market. It's continually evolving. And, like I said, you guys know a lot more than I do because I do other sports year round, but this one I actually am passionate about and enjoy it. And so for me, it's fun. And I get to originate a lot of my stuff because like I was telling you last week, I bet World Cup soccer last year. I didn't watch a single World Cup game, but the guys I have access to went, thank God, 20-5. So they know what they're doing. I don't, and it's, with MMA, it's a little different because even though I respect other guys and am willing to bet their stuff and move their stuff, I originate some of my own stuff. And when you see it get respect, it's such an awesome feeling, man. So again, that's where I stand with all this. And I appreciate all you guys coming and sharing your knowledge and not just making fun, poking fun if I mispronounce a name or shit like that.
I'm the worst with pronouncing names. Don't even worry about that.
Are you kidding me? I called the San Diego Chargers on Los Angeles radio last week, so don't ever feel bad.
Yanni, not for nothing. Next week is UFC China. If you really want to worry about something, listen to some of those names, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I want to go a step further. This whole conversation started with parlay pieces. If you're gonna bet Devontae Smith, I would bet Devontae Smith right here, wins by KO TKO minus 305. If you are going to bet Devontae Smith in a parlay and throw that in a parlay, in Jersey, you can actually parlay props. So on DraftKings, if you want to parlay a prop, you can. I would bet Devontae Smith minus 305 right there. And actually, I'm going to throw that in a parlay.
You're absolutely right.
That's the way to go.
I had a question for you because I don't know them very well, but the numbers show that the line's just too high. Youssef and Benitez, okay? What's that current line right now? Youssef is...
I'll throw it up there on the screen. Check out that screen right there. I just put it up there.
Awesome.
So right now, Youssef is at minus 265. I think he was minus 2 foot. Let's look at the line movement. Let's see what that looked like. So he was minus 305 when it opened up.
Yeah, I think that's too high, man. I think he wins this fight. He's 6 years younger. He's got that 100% takedown defense. There's a lot to like on that side. But I just thought that price was way too high based on what I thought his implied win probability is. Because it's funny, we did the show this week, and we were about to break the Costa Romero fight down, and we were all discussing it in the production room. And I said, the truth is there's only one question here that we need to answer. It's the line at what it is right now. Will Romero win this fight 70% of the time? Or could Costa win this fight 50% of the time? If you think Romero could win this fight 7 out of 10 times, you run to the casino, you bet Romero, and sit back and watch that fight, and hopefully he comes through and does his job. If you think Costa could win this fight half the time he steps into the octagon against Yoel Romero, and I know they're only going to fight once, that's irrelevant. Then it's obvious. You bet Costa, that's a coin flip you're getting plus money on. You take that bet every time. You don't even worry about the result. You just make it. Do that over a course of a year. Watch that money stack up because that's the goal. Don't worry about the result. If you make good bets, results take care of themselves. In the short term, randomness, all kind of stuff's going to happen. A judge is going to screw up a call. A guy's going to get caught in a submission he shouldn't have. Pettis is going to jump off the cage and do a Superman punch with 3 seconds left and knock out Wonderboy Thompson, who's never been knocked out before. That's going to happen. That's random. You can't predict that. Nobody can. But if you make good bets, long term, you're going to be up. That's just math. So focus on making good bets. And I think with that, to make good bets, that's the answer you gotta come up with. Because what's the line right now? Romero is what? Around that 160 range?
Romero is minus 130.
Wow! Oh my God! It's dropped within. I saw 150. I thought it was moving the other. Okay, so the cost of money just keeps coming in. So right now, yeah, Romero 130. Wow, it's a different fight right now, bro. It's a different fight than it was. I mean, he opened as high as 235. It's the strangest thing to say. And when I say it sometimes around, just MMA fans, the ones that don't bet at all, and they're like, what are you talking about? It is, Romero minus 235 opener at some of those market books. And then the rest open 215. But even at 215, Romero minus 215 and Romero minus 130, they're the same two fighters. But that's a completely different fight if you're betting it. And you need to approach it that way because now the question has changed. At minus 130 isn't the same question as at minus 200 because at minus 200, you're break even 67. So at that time, you got to conclude he wins that 75% of the time, even to make a bet. Right now on Costa, what are you getting back? Barely 105, 110? Yeah. That value's pretty much gone on Costa too.
Right now on Costa plus 120. Difficult take
maybe it is. Honestly, gun to my head, when it opened, I should have bet Costa. I didn't. I missed it, and I miss a lot. We all do. And when that happens, I get mad at myself because I missed a good bet, regardless of the result. Because if I could get a ticket of Costa in my pocket at plus 180, and tomorrow night he's plus 115, 120, I don't care if he gets knocked out 30 seconds into the fight. I'm celebrating. I made a great bet. And please, if that's difficult to grasp, please ask so I could break it down because that truly is the most important part about sports betting. And again, Costa plus 180 was a bet that if he gets knocked out right when it starts, faster than Masvidal knocked, than the flying knee, I would still be happy with the Costa bet. But not right now. At this price, I think I'd only bet Romero or nothing at all. The only thing that scares me is that age, man. I mean, listen, we already know. I mean, just blindly, after 35 years old, those guys lose 2 out of 3 fights. I mean, that's long-term data. There's nothing you can't. Now, there's been outliers. DC's an outlier. He's even an outlier. I think what sticks out the most with the Costa, I'm sorry, and here's why I didn't bet Romero yet at minus 130, and the only reason I have it, even though I'm saying I should, is because this guy's been an underdog the last 8 times, and now you're asking him to be a favorite. And when that switches like that, I'm usually cautious because it's the market doing a complete, not 180, a complete 360. And you got to take a step back and say, is that recency bias? Probably not in this case because he did lose 2 of his last 3 fights. But with that said, they were Robert Whitaker. So again, yeah, very tough fight to bet. I thought the best bet was probably a finish. When it first opened at minus 300, now it's 350. A little bit of value, maybe an itsy bitsy if you don't mind putting up a lot to win a little. That would probably be the bet I made. But again, Romero's age scares me, man. Costa's got a 14-year age advantage. Difficult to overcome.
Yeah, and again, this is a big for Paulo Costa, so we got to see how that
Who do you
plays out
like?
too. You know?
Who do you like?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't bet anything on that fight. I do like Romero. I think it's going to play out differently than a lot of people think it's going to play out. I've heard, a couple other podcasts. I listen to everything.
I haven't even used them on a parlay yet, but I think I'm going to be on that side too.
And this is more or less what I think is going to happen. Romero, everyone's afraid of Romero's power, which rightly so, you should be. But a thing in UFC is betting third round Romero. Third round Romero has been a thing in UFC. He's won some fights in the third round via knockout, by a finish. The problem is Costa, I don't think he's going to allow Romero the space that he normally gets. Even if you look at the fights with Bobby Knuckles when he fought Whitaker, those 2 times, everybody gives him space. And when you give him space, he's able to have those flashes of athletic ability where he can just go and knock you out, which is what he did with Rockhold, right? He caught Rockhold with a left hand. And again, Rockhold was kind of winning the rounds, winning the fight. And because he has that Nike training type, explosive ability, he's able to just knock you out with those explosions. And again, I think that because what I basically think is going to happen in this fight is Paulo Costa is going to come out and pressure him early. So basically what's going to happen is that Romero's going to have to, empty that gas tank earlier. And if he does that, it could be a first round finish. Or Costa, I don't think this fight does not see a third round.
That's what I was going to say. Can it, with these 2 guys, just watching them at the weigh-in, does it look like they're going to be there after 15 minutes?
I mean,
that's a hard ask, man. That's a hard ask.
If you watch Costa in his last fight versus, I can't think of his name right now, and I know I watched the fight the other day. In his last fight, he pressured from the get-go, and he actually got hit with some good shot. Uriah Hall.
Yeah, he gets hit, right? He gets hit. He does get hit.
Well, yeah, because he's always in the pocket. He's in the pocket pressuring you. So if you're in the pocket, you're going to get hit. I think he actually had to go down to a knee at one point. But for the most part, yeah, I think that Costa's pressure is going to force Romero to either put him out or get himself finished.
Oh, you said you like Heinisch, right?
I like Heinisch a lot. I was actually going to go back to that fight because we kind of skipped it.
Yeah, I wanted you to cover that because I'm hearing a lot about that Heinisch side too.
Well, I'll back to the Heinisch.
About his confidence and.
So we got a couple fights left, and I don't want to skip too much, but I think that
Heinisch you run the point, brother. Run the point.
Heinisch is very, very confident. If you want to see him talk about this fight, go to Luke Thomas, his podcast. Luke Thomas and Brendan
He's
Schaub.
Amazing, man. The way he breaks down fights, great, amazing. That's what I said. Like with the UFC, there's guys that are going to analyst a million times that are going to do. I'm not an analyst, dude. That's not what I do.
Right.
You know what I mean? They have professional world champion title fighters, like the best on the planet, for analysts that know the game better than anyone, and they, learn some communication. Most of them are articulate anyway, but with a little broadcasting experience, you see they all kick ass because they know their sport. Just like Troy Aikman is such a great analyst in NFL because they know their sport. I'm never going to know it like they do, and I'm not even a regular analyst. But again, Luke Thomas, I listen to him to hear his analysis just as much as enjoying just his opinion and passion for the sport. Did he fight? He didn't fight, right?
Again,
because he's
his
obviously
analysis,
trained. He trains. He seems like he knows a lot about the
He
fight game.
trains. I don't think he. Yeah. I don't think he fought. I think he just trains. But with that being said, again, him and Brendan Schaub gave a nice breakdown. He interviewed Ian Heinisch earlier in the week. He just talked about it on the show, and Ian Heinisch had smoke prison time. You know what I mean? So he was in prison in I believe 2 different countries. I mean, the guy is tough as hell. He's got the wrestling background, and if you see some of the previous fights that he's been in, I actually gave my bet of the week. My bet of the week was go to the. It was actually -110 earlier in the week. You can see the line movement right here. I'll show everybody the line movement so that they can see it. But that was -110 earlier in the week. Right now it's at -140. I still think it's a line to play. I think Heinisch finishes this fight. Are you there?
It's just, yeah. Honestly, I saw this line dropping on the I've from what I've seen is bettors are liking the Heinisch side, and that line's dropping. I used Brunson in that weigh-in parlay just because I thought there was some value on the plus side. Here's the only negative for Brunson, the age, obviously, and what you touched on, just the aggression of Heinisch. But I thought the opening line was high. I made my implied win lower than that. I thought Heinisch wins this fight around 60% of the time, which is at that 150 where it is right now. I think the price is right. When it was higher, I looked at the Brunson side. I liked his reach advantage. I like he's in the southpaw stance. But Heinisch, he's a Muay Thai guy, right? Factory MMA. He's Muay Thai, so that's what he does. He'll be standing, obviously. Brunson, you ain't taking him down, but you think Brunson can take him, Heinisch, down?
I mean, can he? Yes, but I think that Brunson's a wrestler. Heinisch, he will throw a submission at you. I mean, he was throwing submissions at Pereira.
The analytics I have, he's -7 in takedowns in the last 2 bouts for Heinisch. And, Brunson, even though he's not accurate with his takedowns, he's persistent. So he averages, 3 of them per 15, 1 a round, And what Tyron was telling me, he said, I love learning from these guys. That's why I say I could learn from guys that know the sport. That's what, again, you could make a ton of money betting with knowing absolutely nothing about the sport if you understand markets. I know a lot of guys out here that are able to grind doing that. But if you know about it, you become even more efficient, and more profitable. And Tyron Woodley was telling me that don't pay attention to the accuracy. He said, because there's some guys, it's a different style of wrestling. Even though they're wrestlers, their style is different. He said, and as long as they're persistent and they're willing to continue attempting it, even after getting stuffed, those guys are the most tiresome. Like even if they only are successful in 25, 30%, but they're averaging 3 or 4 of them, then those guys are going to keep coming, and those become the most dangerous, even though their numbers aren't. And that to me was a lesson, because now I know to have my computer guy who's runs the program. That I'm not a computer scientist by any stretch. Could shade it, because that's the kind of stuff that I need to find out. That's information that you could shade a number with that won't be factored into the price. That's an edge you could gain from. So we're trying to work something with that with wrestlers. I'll let you know for sure if we come out with any statistical significant trend that maybe is profitable. But that's what stuck out to me. But I'm hearing so much positive on the Heinisch side. I haven't bet Brunson. I didn't make him a straight bet, didn't release him to subscribers, but I did add him in a parlay of mine pre-weigh-in.
Yeah, and again, just to finish my thought with Brunson, Brunson's a wrestler who doesn't always use his wrestling. I question his fight IQ. He ran in on a couple of his opponents. He ran in on Bobby Knuckles and got himself knocked out. He was actually favored in that fight. Bobby Knuckles was the underdog, and Bobby Knuckles, so everybody knows, is Robert Whitaker. He's the champ right now, and Whitaker just put him down real early in that fight. Last year I was at the fight. I was covering it for MMA India. The fight. Who was it? Israel Adesanya, and he was talking all this nonsense to Israel all week. And he tried to run in on Israel, and Israel was able to basically shuck off his takedown attempt and just put him out and put him dead. You know what I mean? So but what is Derek Brunson? I mean, you're talking about a guy who's tough as nails. He threw out a stat before about him getting taken down so much. His last two opponents were Cesar Ferreira, who's a BJJ black belt multiple times, and Antonio Carlos Jr., another guy, Brazilian, BJJ black. Yeah, it's just styles make fights, and like those guys are submission. BJJ black belts, submission specialists, multiple time, notches on their black belt. Like this is, and Heinisch didn't get finished. So what is Derek Brunson really do to Heinisch? If Derek Brunson puts Heinisch down, Heinisch is going for submissions that are black. He's the one going for submissions against Antonio Carlos Jr., fighting off, when these guys take their back. Cesar Ferreira took his back. He fought off of that and actually is trying to throw submissions on him. And when it got to the feet, he pieced up both of these guys. So I have a very high opinion of Ian Heinisch. So, yeah, I mean, I know you said that, you didn't really place the bet yet. You put Brunson in.
Yeah, I didn't. And at this price, I wouldn't bet Brunson at this price. If I was able to get the higher opener when it opened at plus money, I'd bet him. But at this one, and that's why I say I'll add to parlays, because again, parlays are negative EV. I'm betting them at the same casino because you have to. You can't spread your parlay around the different shops, so you're forced to take whatever line's there. I already know I'm not going to get the best line. So with parlays, I don't sweat the line at all. But if I'm going to straight bet or worse, pass it along and share it to guys that trust me, for the information, I only give them my strongest stuff. And I wouldn't give them something I'm just tossing on a parlay for sure, even though, I throw them on there just because it was plus money.
Yeah, in that sense. Now, the last thing that I would say, just moving through this card a little bit, I don't want to skip too many fights, but, my pick is Heinisch. If you're going to pick Devontae Smith, I would go with Devontae Smith by KO, TKO. And right here, I have no interest in Benitez. I'm going to go Youssef. And again, I'm just going to mention some of the guys that Benitez has beat. He's beat Humberto Bandone, who fought last week. I mean, he's not even a UFC fighter. Jason is a guy who he beat. Jason Knight's not in the UFC, right? He's fighting bare knuckle boxing. So you got a guy in Enrique Barzola who fought last week again. Also, he beat him. Andre Feely beat him. Andre Feely beat him in the first round. Clay Collard is a guy who Collard would fill in and actually had to drop out. He's not even in the same in a UFC category. Like, not for nothing, but Benitez has fought nobody that's really, top 20, top 30, and I have a very high opinion of you. Go ahead.
How much stock do you put in their gyms? Like with Youssef coming from Team Lloyd Irving, and the only big names there I saw was Vic and Easton, and Benitez coming from American Kickboxing Academy with all those training partners. Do you put any stock in that? I mean, we power rated. Per gym we have a power rating, obviously, for every gym. But I was wondering, like, how do you approach that?
I mean, I think that's very important.
Gym has talent doesn't mean they're using them as training partners, right? You know what I mean? Off the automatic.
Yeah, but even if they are using them as training partners, it still comes down to how much better can you get? What is Benitez going to do with the fact that Youssef is just faster than him? His hand speed and his power is just too much.
Right. He's just a better athlete, better fighter.
Yeah. So what is Benitez going to do when there's such a disparity there? You know what I mean? And again, the reason I love UFC, MMA, well, the reason I love fighting is I'm a basketball guy, but at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is impose your will on the other team.
Yeah, exactly.
Youssef is going to be able to impose his will on Benitez. He's faster. He's intimidating. and I think he's going to show up within the first minute of this fight.
All right.
So Yanni, that's more or less what I'm thinking about that. But I think we beat up that Costa Romero line.
Yeah, we covered that. We covered that well.
So I'm going to go right to this Pettis Nate Diaz line, and I'll be honest with you, I think Pettis is going to win this fight. A lot of people think that the leg kicks are not going to play a big role. I think that they are. I think that Nate Diaz more or less has his boxing acumen. He's got two weapons there with his jab, with his left hand, and throwing that volume and his cardio. But Anthony, his Superman punches, his kicks, and I expect to see a kicking game from Anthony Pettis here in this fight. So what do you think here about this fight? And then we got the main event to go. So what do you think?
I'm getting more worried because I haven't released Nate Diaz yet because I'm seeing the line go in Pettis' favor.
Right.
I was a little surprised early. I thought what was going to happen was right away Diaz would get support. But instead what we're seeing is perceptions totally changed. And as we're approaching fight, it's been more and more and more and more and more support for Pettis. It seems as the collective mind of MMA fans has gotten together, the support is thrown on the Pettis side. I mean, I used Diaz in that parlay because he, with the intentions of actually betting him tomorrow and just waiting on how good of a price I'm going to get. I think you'll probably see Diaz money come in tomorrow, so you may not want to wait on that if you like the Diaz side. If you like the Pettis side, you probably should have bet it a little earlier. Now you may as well wait and see if it comes back down. A lot of times they do, so I don't think you should rush to bet him right now up at that minus 130 or so range. Listen, he opened a lot higher. The first book that tried to create a market opened at minus 175. After getting paintbrushed a few times, they brought it down to 125, and that's where everyone else opened it. It went down, and now it's going back up. Again, support for Pettis. The difficulty I had is how do I quantify the layoff for Diaz? Because with every fighter, it's been different. And we have not been able, if you're out there and you're an analytics guy and you've been able to come up with a value for layoffs, please reach out to me. I'm willing to pay for that kind of information. If you have the data to back it up, I do it all the time. And here's why. All the stuff we've run, there's no statistical significance to it. So there's a trend that you can't trust. It's unbettable. So whether he's fighting 2 or 3 times a year or hasn't fought for 2 years, I can't tell you with certainty what's that worth at a betting line. So for me, there's really not much reason for me to discuss it. And that's what makes this fight difficult. With that said, the stuff I did like on the Diaz, obviously his reach. I like the stance that southpaw stance, of course, gives him. It's always a slight. Again, it's been negated through years, but especially early on because there weren't just that many southpaws when the sport was starting. It's just the case. It's just you look over the globe. Just statistically, there's less of them. So obviously, in a sport, there's going to be even less and less. So if you're not seeing that, it'll always give a guy a slight advantage. With that said, it's slowly been negated as the sport's grown, and these guys can afford to bring in the best training partners and fly a 3 lefties in, where maybe 10 years ago they couldn't do that. And that's why the value's been negated. Where maybe if you asked me 5, 7, 8 years ago, I would say that alone adds some value that you made even enough to take advantage and place of that. With that said, listen, I like the Diaz side, man. And talking to Michael Chiesa, because we did he was the fighter for this month's show. And he not only does he really like Diaz a lot in this fight, he's so sure he's going to win this in the 3rd round. I mean, he bet plus 1,400. I found there's plus 1,600 now. Diaz to win this fight in the 3rd round. If you agree with Mike, he just said this: the inactivity is not a problem. because I was trying to find out from him, and if I could maybe gain some kind of knowledge to quantify it myself. And Kiesa said it's different, exactly like what our Max showed. It's different for every weight class, for every guy, but more importantly, the individual fighter in this case, he said Diaz, he doesn't even believe in fight camps. He's just constantly training. He said, so even though he hasn't fought since 2016, his game should have improved. And that's good. That's a good sign. Because with Pettis, I think there's a recency bias there. I think this line, I don't think he should be favored. Just let's put it that way. And I know you're going to say I'm crazy, but just put this in perspective. He's 4-6 over his last 10 fights since 2015. So over the last 4 years, he's won 4 out of 10 fights. One of those fights, his last fight, he was minus 15 in significant strikes. So he was losing that fight convincingly until he landed that Superman punch with seconds remaining in the round and knocked out a fighter who hadn't been knocked out in 50 plus professional fights prior. He did that. Yes, great, amazing accomplishment. But I think you're paying for that now. Meaning if that didn't happen, if he would have went on to lose that fight, well, this one wouldn't have been made. But if they didn't have that fight, I think Diaz would have opened the favorite. I think that recency bias gives us line value. Now, that to me was enough to place a bet. The negative side is when I look at the handicap and listen to guys like Steven and other guys who break down fights who bring up some good reasoning on why the handicap doesn't support the Diaz side. And when I make confident bets, the kind that I'm willing to share with subscribers and put real money on, I want both to fit. I want line value, and I'm hoping the handicap supports that as well. Then I really have a bettable bet. Because again, I can't stress this enough, guys. Only out of every 100 opening lines, only 6 of them offer you 10% of value. Let's not forget. The house has at least a 5%.
John, are you there?
Edge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm still here.
Down to this lesson. Yanni, you there? You went out and came back in. And again, just to build up on what you would. All right, what you would.
Tell me what you were
just saying. Most important part. Again, I think that the issue with Pettis is that he's getting comfortable at 170. I think the weight cuts at 155 were just a little bit too much for him. But if you go back and you look at Nate Diaz was able to basically fight at 170 pounds against Conor McGregor when Conor McGregor was only 145. Conor McGregor had never fought at even 155 at that point when he fought Nate Diaz. So Conor McGregor was a 145-pound champ and then fought Nate Diaz at 170, twice in a row, back-to-back fights. Before that, he was able to beat Michael Johnson. Nate Diaz beat Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson's a 145-pound fighter, right? That's basically where he's fighting right now. Yes, Rafael Dos Anjos. His best win was against Donald Cerrone. But for the most part, who has Nate Diaz beat 170 just should be overly concerned with. I just think that he can beat him with volume, which is why, Chiesa saying third round Nate Diaz is a thing. It is a thing because Pettis, is notorious for kind of gassing out all his big moves that he makes throughout the fight. In round 3, he has a tendency to gas out, so I can see him fading. But the issue is I struggle to think how Nate Diaz is going to beat Anthony Pettis by just boxing him up for 3 rounds. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that Anthony Pettis is going to be able to use all his weapons, use his kicks, I think he's going to win the fight. I bet Pettis. So, we're kind of head-to-head here on our bets here, but that's the way that I see this fight.
I'm going
to bring this right into the last fight. Go ahead, Yanni. You're kind of breaking up.
I said, you think they take that to the mat at all?
Does Nate hurt him?
Or do they take it to the mat, or is it going to be a standing?
I don't think they're going to take it to the mat. Now, if you've heard Duke Lupus at all this week, Duke has basically said that he thinks Pettis is going to take it to the mat. He basically called it that Pettis was going to take it to the mat. I don't think it will go to the mat, to be honest with you. I think it's going to stay in the feet. I just think that Pettis is going to be able to wear him out. If you just go back to that Stephen Thompson fight, when he fought Wonderboy is notorious for not getting hit. Pettis was able to hit him. He connected with a lot of leg kicks, which I think is going to be available for him here. And he was really throwing some big punches at Stephen Thompson. When he eventually hit him is when he knocked him out. But if you go back to that first round, he threw some big right hands, and I think Nate Diaz is going to be there to get hit with some of those right hands.
Pettis does look like he hits harder. He looks like he hits harder.
Yeah, and especially at 170, I think he's more comfortable. So let's. I don't want to go all night with this pod, but let's finish off with this main event here. I'm kind of up in the air. I'm going back and forth. If you would have asked me the other day, I probably would have said Stipe. If you would have asked me earlier today, I probably would have said DC. It's like the last interview that I listened to, I side with that fighter. So I have no skin in this game with this main event. I'm not betting it. I haven't bet it so far. Maybe I'll throw something in tomorrow, depending on how the early bets go. But as of right now, I have nothing here. So, Yanni, where's the line going right now?
What a difference a year makes. This is a rematch, but a really completely different fight. Last year when they fought 12 months ago, Stipe was almost a 2-1 favorite when it opened. Now, money came in on DC, and it closed a lot lower, but still, Stipe was a significant favorite. Now it opened, flip Cormier minus 165. Sure, it's dropped some. He's down to 140, 135. But the question we got to ask, is it warranted? Should DC be this big of a favorite? Right away, the first thing I could share is I'm always cautious betting heavyweights. In fact, I bet very few heavyweight fights. And the reason is obvious. The outcome is random. I mean, Stipe holds the record for successful title defenses, 3 of them. That shows you how the randomness in the heavyweight division, and it makes sense. A 250-pound guy, he lands one punch, the probability of getting knocked out are high. And it's obvious you see in the heavyweight division, the knockout ratio is so great, the finish ratio, compared to every other weight class. That alone says you really got to be cautious betting heavyweights, and more important, if you're going to bet a heavyweight favorite. Here's the data I can share with you. Historically, since UFC 1, if you just blindly bet the winner of the first fight, you'll cash 6 out of 10 tickets betting them in the second fight. If we look at a shorter sample size over the last 5-7 years, like I think OddsShark did, they found that the winner of the first wins the second 70% of the time. And when he's favored, he does it 75% of the time. And when it's for a title, he does it 85% of the time. So all the trends historically point to DC winning this fight. The problem is all the predictive data supports Stipe. And that's he's younger, he's bigger, he's taller, he's longer. Those factors really give you reason to like the Stipe side. Now, I went back and I watched that first fight. And being a layman, obviously, in analyzing fights, we all are, unless you're a professional fighter, obviously. What I saw was Stipe's size was evident. His size advantage was obviously evident, especially since they were striking the whole time. The length was evident, but DC seemed to hurt Stipe more than Stipe hurt DC, meaning DC was taking Stipe shots better than Stipe was taking DC shots. And in the end, that obviously played out that way. Stipe seems really confident. I mean, almost to where he's convincing you he's going to win. It's his belt. Listen, I had the privilege of doing a show or 2 shows with DC. He's an awesome guy, man. He's just a really good dude. For being that vicious of a killer and that dangerous of a human being, to actually be that decent, he's just awesome, bro. He's got time for everybody. and is one of the few people that actually isn't waiting to talk. You know what I mean? That actually listens and wants to pick up things and then share things. Just a good dude. And I think cerebrally, I give him the edge, not because of that and meeting him, obviously, but because just his fight IQ has shown throughout the years. You know, John Jones, yeah, he did what he did, but the way DC's been able to win fights just shows his fight IQ is off the charts. I haven't bet this fight. I don't think there's line value, but I did use DC in my parlay. Um, Maybe even for sentiment, I may even bet him tomorrow. If I have an okay day going into that final fight, I may bet him from action. I shouldn't even say that. That is so bad to say. Don't ever do that. Just don't do what I do. Practice not what I do. Not what I do. What I say, not what I do. Right? Ain't that the thing? But I shouldn't bet if there's not. But I will do it because I like the DC side, and I just think he's got his number, man. I do. Tell me what you think.
Well, the one part that I would caution you with, if you watch that first fight, which you said you did, I think the eye poke played a decent role.
Yes, two people have said that to me. Actually, yes, and actually people that know, you know, what I mean, that know what they're talking about. That I'm like, wait, okay, yeah, wow, good point.
Yeah, so that I think that eye poke played a decent role in that. And again, I think that. You know, DC, did he show his hand? Yeah, he more or less showed his hand that he, you know, Stipe has to watch coming in and out of the clinch. I think Stipe is going to try to stay out of the clinch, and he's just going to try to box him up.
If he does that, he'll win that fight because the size was evident, man. I mean, his reach, how it's 5, 7.5, 8-inch reach advantage. Jesus.
Height, I'll give you a couple numbers. Height, reach. Did you see the number that they weighed in today? Stipe was down in the 230 range. I think DC was even under 240.
Yeah.
Like they're both weighing in a good 10 to 12 pounds lighter than they did last time, which tells you, what does that tell you? That these guys, they plan on moving around. They plan on striking more. And I think this is going to be more of a kickboxing fight. So I think that.
Sorry, not to interrupt you. Just I didn't want to forget. I did bet, and this is probably a losing bet, but I thought there was line value. And again, that's all I'm looking for, to place bets where I think the implied win probability is higher than the line is saying. And because last time it happened so quickly, the finish in the first round, coupled with heavyweights, I expected when they brought that will it go to a decision or not prop out, that no, it won't go to distance, that it would be shaded towards that bias. So betting that it goes the distance, I thought would offer some line value. The only problem is it's a heavyweight fight, and we know what, 2 out of 3 heavyweight fights don't go to distance. These guys already did this one, didn't go the distance, heavily favored to not go the distance. So it's probably going to be finished inside the distance, but I bet it will go to distance. I got plus 260. I actually gave that out on Monday to my guys because I thought that line was just wrong. I honestly thought it's about 6 out of 10 times, 65 at the most. 6 out of 10, 6. Yeah, I think I had it. That it should be a finish, but not minus 3, whatever it was. That 75, 80% of the time. I thought that was biased based on that last fight. So it won't be a winning bet, but I think it's a good bet. I'm getting a better price than I should.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And again, with all the things that I was just building on there. I think that this could be a kickboxing fight. So I think that that's going to favor Stipe. And if Stipe comes with that game plan, uses his kicks, uses his boxing, uses his jab to keep DC off of him. A good stiff jab can keep DC back a little bit. Bloody up his face a little bit. Let the judges see that, win rounds. And I think he'll wear DC down. Now, with all that
distance has a shot? This distance has a shot?
I think so. I think there's another reason the distance has a shot if DC can take him down. If DC can take him down,
baby, I'm at plus 260.
Yeah, so I think both of those. I think the distance has a shot with both guys going to decision. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna call it tops there. That's an hour and 25 minutes. We broke down this card pretty good. As a couple people had said, we should do this every week, and what Yanni and I have talked about is maybe trying to do this for pay-per-view events on Friday. Just keep it to that. Yanni, let's end it with this one question from King's MMA. It'll come up on the screen right now. Who do you think is the best underdog on this card? He thinks.
What a great question. Let me tell you, who's the live dog? Let me see. The barking live dog.
And while you're looking, I'll tell him exactly what I bet already. I bet Brandon Davis at plus 150. You can get him right now at plus 170. So that's a line that I do like, and I'll show you the line right here. So again, I'm on bestfightodds.com if anybody wants to go over there. But you can get Brandon Davis at plus 170. You can go right across the line, see what the other lines are.
I like the Brandon Davis. I agree with the Brandon Davis. It's not a big dog, man, but based on win probability, yeah, I got to give it to Diaz, man. And again, it's not. I know it's not high plus money, but just based on that win probability, the best price, I think Davis. I agree with you there 100%.
I like Davis.
50-50. I made it a coin flip. I actually made the finish the same thing. Finish decision, I made 50-50, and our analytics showed that winner should actually be 50-50. So Davis decided that I'm looking actually to bet too. I just think the line's going to go up because I'm hearing at least casual bettors are betting the Kang side and use them in parlays.
And again, Kang, the reason that they're betting Kang is I think they think that Kang's going to be able to get Davis to the ground and get a submission, which is what CG had mentioned the other day on the podcast. But again, Davis was taken down at 145. He's going to be bigger in this fight. They both weighed in at 135, and Davis is going to enter the ring tomorrow at 100.
I know a lot of guys that agree with Kings, though. He said he likes the Paulo Costa as his best bet. I mean, listen, the market shows that, it got respect. And early on, that was some sharp guys that bet it, the 1% that wins long term. So there's definitely, win or lose, I think you're on a decent bet there with Paulo Costa, especially if you got in at that good price early on.
There's a path. There's a path to victory. And again, when you think about how does that path play out, if Yoel had – people were concerned about the weight cut, and then he weighed in at 184.5. So he actually was a pound and a half under where he needed to be, which is important because, again, last time he fought Whitaker, I believe he didn't make championship weight. So he really needed to make championship weight at 185 to even think about getting somewhat of a rematch because those fights were paper thin, the decisions in those fights. But with that being said, if Costa can push the pace and really get in his face, it could be something that Yoel Romero hasn't seen before. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't handle it. It's just most people don't push the pace on Yoel because of his, spontaneous athleticism and, jumping knee, big left hand or something like that. They don't want to be inside with Yoel Romero.
Are you confident on this card? Like, I'm so excited to watch it. Honestly, I am so hyped to watch it. Obviously, you're okay, you know what I mean? So I don't have to hear it and shit. But I'm more excited to watch it than – they just look like they're going to be such highly contested fights, and the betting lines reflect that. Man, I don't think as a bettor, anyone should walk in being shocked if they go 7-0 or 0-7. It looks like that kind of night.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm very excited for this card. I got my computer. I'll be I'm down the shore right now in the Jersey Shore, like we talked about earlier. So I'll be streaming it from my computer. I'm not home and I can't stream on the house TV here. But I'll have the fights in the computer, and yeah, I'm pumped for this. So Yanni, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate the podcast. Everybody should get some good information on this podcast, and then everybody win some fights tomorrow night, win some bets, and good luck.
Good luck, guys.
You know a lot of stuff. What?